Welcome to The Way with your best era hosts, Ryan McKean and Brittany Green. The podcast where we dive deep into the world of legal business and marketing. So whether you're a lawyer, marketer, or business owner in the legal industry, this podcast is for you.
Hey, Ryan.
Hey, Brittany.
How are you today?
I'm doing awesome, Brittany. It is spring here in Connecticut, and I am here for it.
I am too. You had a nice, lovely opening day at the Red Sox this past week with your son, right?
Yes, I did. Up on Friday, and beautiful day. It's like, opening day for New England, I feel like it's really, really special because like it has been so cold, the winter so long, and for so many months unimaginable that there would be sports outdoors. And there they are, the Red Sox won. They haven't been winning much this season, playing the game of summer, right? On a nice spring day, it just hits differently. Just very fortunate to be able to experience that with my son.
Definitely. There's nothing like a hot dog on a nice warm day at a baseball stadium. There's
I'm
nothing
gonna
like
take a
it.
little detour here on this one. So as you know, like I had to start going back to church.
Yes.
Yeah, I had to get married in the church, so I had to go
Oh,
to
that's
church,
right. Wait,
right?
it was Good Friday. Could
It
you not,
was
you
Good
couldn't have a
Friday.
hot dog.
It was Good
Did you cheat?
Friday, so I
I won't
didn't have
tell.
a hot dog, which was okay. I had a pretzel, but then on the way home, my son and I stopped at McDonald's, and all they had, like, McDonald's was the only restaurant in
Yeah.
this west stop. And what I did is I stopped and I looked at the menu and I said, as Jesus intended, I must have an Oreo McFlurry for dinner. And so that was my Good Friday. That was my Good Friday dinner. But yeah,
I thought you were going to have like a
pretzel.
filet o fish.
Luke and I had peanuts, and it was fantastic.
Love that. All right. Well, you'll have to. It's a good thing you're going back a couple times this year for games, so you can get your hot dogs then.
Going back in a few weeks, uh, going back in a few weeks after that. Then I'm going to go with one of our clients. We got Green Monster seats to see the Yankees, and we're going to go for when we do our Revolutionary Era event in July, which I
Yep.
think will be the first time you and Marissa have seen a game.
It's true. Yeah, I've been inside Fenway, done the whole tour, but yeah, I've never watched a game there. So, of all the major league stadiums I've been to, surprisingly, that's not one of them yet. So, I'm excited.
So yeah, it'll be a really good time. So I mean, I don't know if you'll notice, but I usually wear my Shocks headphones, which I really like, and because I'm on Zoom meetings, I don't get paid anything. They were recommended to me by Ernie the attorney, and I'm in Zoom meetings, and AirPods are just getting exhausting. But our friend John Franco, what's his company, Brittany?
Next Level Lawyer.
Yeah, I mean, because they're like so legit with social media. I mean, like 15 billion views. They get marriage proposals. I mean, like they are the most famous people that you or I know. Uh, John Franco's like, I got to give you some feedback when you are doing these podcasts with Brittany. Content is good, but you sound tinny. And I was like, oh no, I can't sound tinny. So I have my big giant blue microphone to appease John Franco and Julio, who know a ton more about what it is, how to do video and sound than you and I could forget. And, they're very fortunate. They are teaching lawyers at was it next
Ne-
level lawyer?
Yes.
I should know this
NLL. We'll
better.
call it NLL because yeah, I definitely am not a professional speaker enough to have that tongue twister on my tongue there. Next Level Lawyer.
Well, yeah, and why don't we put the link in the comments for
We will.
anybody who wants to find them? But they teach things like this and how to be successful on video and how to get views, how to drive engagement, how to really create fans. And, that's really the best kind of marketing, which is just where you create such a presence that you just create inbound. You don't have to go out to people, people come to you, or they just can't escape you. Every time you log into Reels or TikTok or YouTube or LinkedIn, there you are. If you do enough of it, you'll connect with the right audience and you'll drive your business. Like there's no question social media can change your business. And that's going to be our topic du jour today, which is really, as we were talking a little bit before the show, I love reading AI forums on Reddit.
You do?
And
I would never guess that.
and this guy is talking about how, he created a Claude bot or skill that goes out and it tracks trends on YouTube and TikTok, and it knows what his niche is, and it creates scripts based upon his voice, and then he feeds that off to one of these platforms. It's not 11 Lab. What's the other one?
Hey Jen, I think, right? Either
HeyGen.
Hey
Yeah, no,
Jen
he
or
feeds it off to HeyGen, and then it does like 10 videos a day or 5 videos a day, and then it gets published. And, he was all excited about this.
Mhm.
And, somebody else, and I think who actually has the relevant take, was like, great, like you have just accelerated your irrelevance, right?
Mhm.
I think that there's something to be said for actually producing content. Like, these are not bots. Like, this is me.
This
This
is
is
us
you, for better or worse. These are
messing
not
up how to say
bots.
things.
What?
Messing up how to say words. I mean, you can tell it's really
Messing
us
up how
because
to
yeah.
say words, forgetting company names, doing all the things that we do, but it is authentically us, right? And, yes, with AI and with automation and, we could put out 100 videos a day, Brittany. Like, there's no question following the same script. And then, like, the sort of question is, right, that like throughout all of marketing, this sort of thing kicks in. We could put out hundreds of pages on our website a day. We could send hundreds of emails a day. We could do hundreds of podcasts a day. Like, there's sort of no limit on these things, right? But the question is sort of for anybody out there in this era, what should you be doing?
Well, yeah, and that comes back to, right, what part of the process do we keep the human in the loop? And yeah, and I do think it's the actual creating the content, right? The recording of the content, because that's the part that is actually speaking to your audience. Right. And yeah, I mean, it's become increasingly more obvious from, surveys out there and what people are talking about online that, yeah, they're kind of already tired of the AI slop of, they're not connecting with the things that are very obviously AI, or they don't like that they have to second guess every time is if something is AI or not, right? So they, are gravitating towards content is very clearly not or feels the most authentic. So yeah, I don't think if you're going to use AI to speed up processes, that part's the one that keep yourself in the loop. Do we use AI to then edit it a bunch and batch out content? Absolutely. There's no reason why you shouldn't speed that process up and make sure that you can get the most out of the time you did just spend recording. But yeah, the human element is what's going to continue or to get even more valuable in this AI era.
And I was thinking about that when I was at opening day for the Red Sox, right? A packed stadium. And look, Fenway Park is uncomfortable. I mean,
Mm,
this stadium opens up the same week the Titanic ships, okay? The Titanic
sinks.
sinks. See, like, AI could not replace me, right? It's 115 years old. And it's built for people who are the size of 115 years ago. So you're sitting down and it makes economy class in the back of a plane look spacious, and yet it is full, right? And we could have an alternate universe where, instead of broadcasting actual games, there are simulated games that are like Major League Baseball the show, and it plays, right? Like, but people aren't going to see that simulation. They're going for connection. They're going for the experience of spending time with their son. They're going for the smells. They're going for, when the Red Sox hit a home run, that you're high-fiving strangers, right? You're really going for that connection. And look, like, we're here in our office in Glastonbury today. There's nobody else here, but people are sort of sitting with us in a real way if they're watching or listening to this somewhere, and they're getting to experience something real. They're not getting a simulation. And in fact, I think it would be very damaging to our brand if, like, hey, look, these are phonies. These aren't real people. You can't trust them. because at the end of the day, it's like you're trying to deceive them, right? Like
Hmm.
it's not doing that. And when you're in marketing, it is really know, like, and trust. And I think when if law firms are giving into things like this, they're breaching the trust element of know, like, and trust. And that's sort of why it's doomed to fail, aside from it being very milk toast.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Yeah, it's just not interesting watching something that's very clearly AI. Because yeah, like you said, you know that it's sort of being perfected by the algorithm. And yeah, you wouldn't want a AI, hallucination of a baseball game that you're watching, because yeah, they're probably, the AI would be figuring out the stats of, well, this player would probably do this and would probably score this run. It's not that, it's not exciting anymore. The excitement is that humans do make mistakes, right? Are unexpected. Things happen when you don't expect them. And so that is the right, that is the part that people are drawn to, and it's the part that makes people know whether they can trust you or like you, think that you vibe with them. Um, yeah, so I don't think we should be turning to AI anytime soon for that element of our marketing.
No, and what I have noticed in our social media content, because we use AI to analyze like what performs, what doesn't, what topics are of interest to our audience. We use it a bunch in those regards to really help us. We use it a
Okay.
lot to really help us understand what is of interest to our audience, because there's a lot of things that we could talk about potentially. And one of the things that we have found is that posts with our faces on them do better.
Hmm.
Post, selfie videos do pretty well for us. Again, things that really, make it look like you're FaceTiming with your friends. And it's not super produced, it's not overproduced. It is honest and raw and real. And I think that continues to get more important. I mean, you look at, attendance, concert attendance is through the roof. You look at sports attendance. I think Major League Baseball had more fans last year than any year. And I think it's really a post pandemic thing of people seeking community. Even, I was reading this weekend, like record numbers of people back to the Catholic Church of all random things, right? But people are seeking that community and that connection and really that sort of analog experience. And look, I'm not saying like don't do great videos or creative if you can do it, but really I think for most people listening to this, looking into their camera, talking to people like they would talk to a friend, not trying to script out like, hey, here are three things to do after a car accident, but rather doing things like, our friend Rich Rockland, he interviews people who are local in the community, restaurant owners, and, he has somebody who has climbed Mount Everest a bunch, and all of these sorts of different things that are actually unrelated to law, but he's adding value. He's engaging in interesting conversation. They then reshare those bits to their audience, and he's building brand awareness in a way that adds value and is authentic, and it's nicely produced. I mean, his team does a nice job with it, but it's not like, a Steven Spielberg movie or it's very unscripted.
Right. Which you don't need, yeah, this huge long script or this huge production, because the other thing is, well, while people want to see these real videos because of social media, we've also have like this big of attention spans now, right? And so yeah, if your, video isn't going to click within the first like 3 seconds even now of your audience, then they're going to scroll past. So and yeah, I think the less produced, the less crisp and pristine, and the less AI obviously that a video looks, the more likely someone is now going to stay on it long enough to say like, wait, who is this person? What were they talking about? So yeah, I think that changes things. And I know that in, John Franco and Julio's Next Level Lawyer, they have a really nice community where they're constantly teaching and, talking about these topics, sharing videos with the people in their community are sharing the videos of what's working and what's not. So I think that's really useful, being able to be in a community like that and getting the feedback from people that you can trust, right? So that you can figure out what's working for you and what's not, and continue to perfect that. Like you said, too, with relatively, you don't need a big budget now. Like, that's the other thing is, it used to feel like you needed to hire a professional every time to do, video for yourself, but it's never been easier and less expensive to be on social and put yourself in a video. So there's really no barrier of entry anymore, other than you being willing to put yourself out there a little, which I'm sure, unfortunately, that is probably the scariest part for most people, right? So I can also see why people are drawn to, oh, I'll just have an AI version of me talking and doing video because I'm not good in front of camera. But again, it goes back to, well, but you're the person that the humans are actually going to need as the real lawyer, right? Or the real law firm that they're trying to hire. And they want to know that they can trust you, your imperfections and all. So almost embrace your imperfection, right? And embrace your potential awkwardness even on camera. And it's fine. People are going to your audience that you want to connect to anyways are going to be okay with your imperfections and your awkwardness. And when you mess up a word or a speech, it's fine. They're going to be okay with that, because they see you for the real human you are, and they're connecting with whatever it is that you're actually speaking to them about. That's what they're connecting with.
And, for those people out there, like, it has never been easier or cheaper to actually edit out things like ums and ahs and do transcript. So, I mean, some very basic apps that you may want to use are, Instagram's Edits app is very good, very easy to use, free. You know, if you look pale, you could do a warm filter and it makes you look, it doesn't make you look filtered out, but it makes you look warmer. And, you know, um, CapCut is another one that's incredibly easy to use. We use Riverside FM for this podcast. And again, it's very easy to cut these things up because I was looking at some of our data, Brittany, and on YouTube in particular, our YouTube shorts are outperforming everything else. So people are consuming our podcast in 90-second, 2-minute relevant bits as opposed to listening to us go on for 45 minutes. Though some people do, it's another way to reach people that we probably never would have reached. They're finding us through search, we're coming up in their algorithm, and we're being exposed to audiences that we would otherwise not be exposed to. And that used to be very hard to do, to get video, to cut video, to put the video in a format that is appropriate for not YouTube, but for shorts or for TikTok or for Reels. And now you can do that at the click of a button on any of the platforms that I just mentioned. So that's no longer a barrier at all. And if you're out there and you're trying to do video, I don't like video much, but you know, just shoot it, see what works, see what people engage in, and have no expectations. Like, let go of like the expectations. And, yeah, if, Julio and Gianfranco has got, 16 billion views, you don't need that. I mean, look, if you want marriage proposals from Nicaragua, then maybe that's useful, right? But if you're looking to add, 5 to 10 more clients to do a will in Wethersfield, Connecticut, you don't need a billion views. You just need 10. I think, so often lawyers get discouraged about the size of their audience or the number of followers. And, at no point, it used to be that you only got served content from people you follow, but none of the algorithms do that anymore. Followers are just one signal as to what people want to see. And so, look, you could be starting out and you could have 2 followers record a TikTok that outperforms what Gianfranco and Julio do, who've got millions of followers. So don't feel like you have to build that audience anymore, and just point, click, show up consistently, get feedback, see what people are engaging, do more of the things that people are engaging with. And more than anything, like, you win when you get the consistency trophy.
Yeah, I know, and I think that's another thing people will use as a reason for not doing it and not starting now. They're like, "Well, it's oversaturated, right? Everyone does video now. Everyone's on social media posting and posting, and like, what's the point? Because there's already so much out there. The likelihood of my video, getting put out there and shown to tons of people is so much lower." And I think that's a false, attitude to have. You One, you never know, first of all, what content you might put out that does hit big, right? And connects with people. But going viral, like you said, that shouldn't be your goal anymore, anyways. Not that it ever necessarily should have, but I understood the sort of allure of thinking that the point of social media was to go viral with your stuff early on. When I talk to clients and they ask me, well, what metric should I be looking at for, my social media, and they're like, should I be, having a goal of this many likes or comments or engagement, and how many followers? And it's like, no, that shouldn't be the goal of your social media. Like, the amount of engagement, that shouldn't necessarily be the ultimate KPI for what you're doing. It should just be about having yourself be out there so that when your potential clients are looking for you, right, you have this to come back to, and they can find you through there, and they can get to know you through these videos, and feel like they have an understanding of who you are as a lawyer and a law firm before they walk into your office and work with you. So going in with correct expectations of when you're starting to do social media and videos, I think also helps you from going to, I would get started if I just had the time to write all the perfect scripts and shoot this with a photographer and a videographer, and well, and I don't have enough followers yet, so it's not worth posting yet. All of those excuses don't matter anymore. The oversaturation doesn't matter anymore. I'd rather get in front of, like you said, I'd rather be able to get my video in front of 15 of the right people than a million of random people who I'm never going to need as clients anyways, because they're not from here or they're not the right age, whatever. So yeah, I think people still sometimes have to reframe their thinking about why doing video and social media is important in their marketing, for sure.
And I think, the thing with social media too is you just never know. And look, we do a lot of social media. We've done a lot of social media over the years, and even in our Best Era community, I get this all the time, which is I love this community. I get so much value from this community, and I'm sitting there thinking like, you're in this community, and so if you're out there posting on LinkedIn, there are going to be people who are going to see it and engage with you. And that's that's great, but there's going to be an incredibly high number of people who see it, are moved by what it is you have put out there, and do nothing. They don't
Yeah,
engage
don't
with you,
actually
they don't
engage.
like it, and then all of a sudden, you meet them somewhere, or you come in contact and they're like, that post, that thing, that way of looking at it really changed my firm, my life, my whatever, and I so appreciate that voice. So, it's a long way of me saying, like, don't play to the crowd. You don't know what is going on in the crowd. You only ever get a small sample size of any sort of reaction. But I think it's about really staying true to your message and your content and who you are and your values and your vision and who you want to help, and talking to them authentically. Because look, there are 8 billion people on this planet, right? There are people out there who, I've got like a baseball card here, and it's like somewhere out there, this guy just picked up one. This guy named Bob Kipper, right? Somewhere out there, there are like 2 dozen huge Bob Kipper fans, and if you're out there, I'll mail you the card if you want it. But like it is so the internet has allowed people to have very esoteric interests and very people who respond to very narrow messages, right? And so, like talk to those people, figure out, I think one of like the big tricks is like every time I sit down and I do this podcast, like I think of a very specific person that I want to be talking to, an ideal audience member. And I really try to focus what it is that I'm saying on that audience member to direct my communication to them. as opposed to a sort of general broadcast type legal podcast. And I think, if you're out there, we know immigration lawyers who are successful at it. They may speak to people who want to immigrate from Canada, or people who want to immigrate from Somalia, or people want to immigrate from Colombia. And it's like, speak to those specific people. Think about who they are in your life, and think about what they ask, what they think about, and talk to them like you would if they were across from you in a restaurant.
Exactly. And oftentimes, you know, that person that you're thinking of, that your ideal client is, that you're yeah, trying to speak to. I mean, oftentimes it ends up just being someone who's just so similar to us that it's also like often, what we would want ourselves to be listening to, right? Because yeah, more often than not, your ideal client is someone who's probably pretty similar to you, right? A lot of us, especially in legal, I think a lot of lawyers go into a certain practice area because of some sort of personal connection, right? To, PI lawyers, oftentimes they themselves or someone, in their close to them got hurt in some way, right? And they also, feel a passion now to help others like them. Uh, Immigration lawyers often come from, some other country and had to go through that legal process themselves, right? So yes, understandably they connect with that specific community that's trying to do the same thing. So yeah, oftentimes it's fairly easy to connect with your audience because you can almost just think, well, what would I want to talk? Well, what would I want to listen to, right? What would I want someone to talk about that I'd be willing to listen to? So yeah, it doesn't have to be this hard, scary, confusing thing about what topic should I talk about? What do people care about? Just think about what would you care about? And often that's enough.
Right. I went to a summit about giving speeches. It was actually not legal. And it's like, they're like, the criteria for a talk is because, people overthink things. Oh my gosh, what should my talk be about? And it's like, well, if it is of interest to you, it will be of interest to somebody else.
Yeah.
Like, there are that many people out there. So don't overthink that component of it. I think that what you said is very true. Don't overthink it. Don't overdo it. Be authentic. Talk to people like you talk. So, I mean, really and truly, like, if you were sitting in our office, like, this is what you would get if you were on a chair across from one of us. And I think, I really do think that, look, what we're seeing is AI overviews pulling more and more from videos and podcasts, because I think the algorithms are trying to search for authentic content and not just content produced by AI. Because look, when we used to do SEO contracts for the firm, right? It used to be, you we would pay by optimized pages, right? For 10 pages a month, 5 pages a month, 20 pages a month. But now, I mean, realistically, we wouldn't do as good of a job as an agency. But by connecting Claude to Ahrefs and Google Analytics and having it search other websites, identify opportunities, we could have AI create content that is relevant and build pages very, very, very fast, right? And so one of the ranking factors for a long period of time was just the amount of pages
Pages.
that you had, the amount of content that you had. And so that becomes something, I think, that's like not distinguishable. I think it's useful for AI to be like, oh, this is a car accident lawyer in East Hartford, Connecticut. Like, that is useful. But I think, we've got to go beyond that for some of the content, which is actually engaging in podcast and video and having it play up on TikTok. And also, I think that there's a recency bias. And I think you want to be surfing those waves. And I'm not saying that SEO is going away. I'm just saying that, you know, what actually becomes valuable is a little bit different right now in 2026 than it was 2 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, and like you said, SEO is not going away. If anything, the changes to recency and relevancy and actual authoritativeness are just helping the traditional SEO route anyways, right? We're seeing, like you said, Ryan, it's not actually as useful anymore to try to drip out 100 pages of new content for your site. versus get, 5 really good, relevant, recent, well optimized pages with, with some video on there too. And those are more likely going to outperform the 100, AI slop, drafts that you whip up really fast. So yeah, I think we're seeing a lot of that coming our way, and I don't see that changing anytime soon.
It's the kind of thing where I think people underestimate you don't need that many people to sustain a business. And even at Connecticut Trial Firm, 90% of our referrals came from probably about 5 or 6 people. And yeah, we were always looking to explore that, expand that. But the truth is that a small number of people can drive your business, right? It's sometimes said on like, newsletter lists or, that you need 1,000 people on your list to have a business, 1,000 followers maybe on social media. And I don't think it's that big of a number, and especially if it is a very small market that you're competing in. But I think, this, I remember listening to Gary Vee like probably like 7 or 8 years ago, and he was just talking about how, with where all this is going is commoditization. And so if you are like searching for jeans and you're like, "Hey, this is when like Alexa, the speaker came out. Like, "Hey, Alexa, I want jeans." Like, Amazon will serve you up whatever Amazon wants to serve you up and send it to you. But if you're like, "Hey, I want a pair of Levi's," or something like that, that's like you need to be Levi's in the 501. And I think when we talked about Rich Rockland and what he's doing in West Hartford. I want Rich, not I want a divorce lawyer in West Hartford. And again, you probably want to play in both pools, but fundamentally, the opportunity I think for many lawyers is to capture attention, to establish relevant brand, establish local brand, and be where your competition will not be. And you don't need a massive audience or a studio. You probably need an hour a week, maybe. And then you need to be leveraging some of these AI tools to edit, distribute, and get feedback.
Absolutely. So it's never been easier. And like we said, Gianfranco and Julio and their next level lawyer community and their DIY packages and their done for you packages, they really make it so easy and again, not needing a huge budget for something like that. So if you're struggling on maybe the accountability part of getting it done and need some of that extra push from a really good coach, I would go with talking to them, because no one does it better than them.
It's a no-brainer and, commit to doing it for a period of time. Commit to doing it for a year. Don't expect to do it, 1 hour a month for a month. It's the kind of thing where it's like if you go to the gym once, you get sore, and if you go to the gym every day, you get swole. And I think like you have to have the same sort of mindset. But Brittany, we are
Absolutely.
butting up against lunch,
We
and
are.
I think I did our best era financial reporting this morning,
Did we
and
earn lunch today?
I think we earned lunch. I think we're doing well enough that we could get some Chick-fil-A or something. Nothing extravagant, but I could use an iced tea. And so, what is it that you are watching, reading, engaging with?
Okay, so, and I know I told you about this last week. If anyone watched Jury Duty a couple of years ago, it was that show where it was all actors and then one real person who didn't real that thought he was actually doing jury duty, and it was hilarious. They came out with a second season. It's called Community Retreat. So they've got a whole small family company on a retreat, and this one guy who thinks it's all real, who was hired as like a temporary assistant to the HR person. And it's hilarious. It's almost all out. It's Amazon Prime. The last 2 episodes come out this Friday, where they revealed it to him finally. And so these will be the behind the scenes, how they pulled it off stuff. But they pulled it off great. They found another beautiful, genuine hero for this, who was just the sweetest human possible. So I highly recommend it. It was another good season. Just wholehearted.
Awesome. I got to watch that for
Yeah,
sure. And
it's
for
really good.
me, I took Luke, my son, to go see Project Hail Mary last week. Absolutely I mean, Scott Snelling sent me the book, and I've been making my way through the book. I had not finished the book before seeing the movie, but actually seeing the movie, I want to go back and read the whole
Read the
book.
book.
It
I
was
heard he's looking at writing a sequel now for it since it's been so well received.
yeah.
So,
I mean,
I don't
it's
know.
left open a little bit, but the movie, if you're at all interested, absolutely fantastic. Ryan Gosling carries the whole thing. It's well done. It's well shot, and I think as part of the marketing of this too, they're like no CGI, because
Interesting.
but it gets to like people want to see a real performance, right? People
Yeah.
want to see, and like, look, I'm sure that they use stuff, but the
Yeah.
actual footage,
It was like animatronics or whatever that they used.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'm pretty sure watch, I could be completely wrong because now I'm gonna have to Google it, but I'm pretty sure I was reading like, oh, no CGI. I'm gonna have my phone up right now.
I mean, I believe or in some way, I'm sure it was, old school effects kind of thing, which again, it goes back to not to bring it back around or anything, but I mean,
Yeah.
again, we're seeing that like for a while we were starting to see the shortcuts in media potentially, but I think again we're revolting and rebelling a little bit. I mean, I feel like thinking about the Super Bowl commercials this year, it felt like all of them were AI and people like were very loud and vocal about how sort of boring it was watching AI commercial after AI commercial. So
So I'm reading this and I'm right. So I feel good
okay,
about myself here. It says it boasts a groundbreaking no green screen production, relying heavily on practical sets and effects. No
that's
green or
cool.
blue screens. There's an alien, and his name is Rocky. I'm not giving away too much, but it was not CGI. It was a multi-person operated puppet.
Oh, that's so cool.
And then it says the interior of the Hail Mary ship was an enclosed 360-degree set, and then they used interactive lighting without screens, and stunts were achieved using practical rigging rather than digital trickery.
That's so cool.
To create authentic anti-gravity movements. And
I
look,
love that.
it's a great movie.
Yeah,
You should see it if you haven't, and I'm sure
I
it's going to
definitely
be
plan
one of
to.
these movies that wins a ton of awards. And obviously, it's put out by Amazon and MGM, so they know what they're doing. And yeah, part of the marketing is real.
I love that. That and people appreciate the people who love movies and things like that appreciate it for that artistry and that that cinematography. So I'm all here for it. Very cool. I'm excited to watch it.
Well, until next time, Brittany, thank you.
See ya.